Hey guys, it's Hayley and Jake.
This week we're installing our ceiling. We are Hayley and Jake. After spending 8 months driving around North America in our van Vincent, we've decided to start a ground-up van conversion.
In the middle of COVID-19.
Last week we installed our windows. This week we're installing our ceiling. Hey friends! This week we're installing our ceiling, but before we do that, there's a couple of small tasks we need to finish up before we start.
So before we start, we want to trim up the spray foam a little bit just so that our ceiling is flush. We want to go through and paint a few spots in the ceiling so that it is fully protected. And then last but not least, we want to install a couple cross nuts so that we have a strong surface to mount our cabinets.
Let's get cracking! Alright, so first task is I'm going to do some painting. I'm using the same trim clad that I used for the floor, and I'm basically just going to paint all this stuff. So we have all of our ceiling framing in that we did when we were framing the van. We've got pieces at the very back here, and then on each of the ribs of the van we put a piece of wood framing on the side so that we could save some height so that Jacob will fit. We also framed out our fan when we installed that. We trimmed our spray foam so that all of our planks will lie even with our framing. The shoulder workout. Feel the burn.
Oh, feel it.
Alright, so we're using pine tongue and groove from Home Depot. We've been spending all morning figuring out how we're going to arrange this on our ceiling so we don't have like all these weird seams. We're just gonna try our best to keep it simple and have some that are 8 feet, some that are 5, some that are 3, so we can stagger our seams. Jake's getting ready to go start cutting some wood. I'm gonna lay it out on the floor so we can check if we like the pattern. Finnley is supervising. Here's our assembly line. So we've mimicked the ceiling out here on the driveway. We were covering everything up with cardboard just to protect the wood, but we've put our fan flange where the fan is going to be, and then we've got all of our cuts so that we could stagger all of our seams. It's the end of the day, so we're gonna label everything, pack it up, put it in the garage, and then tomorrow we'll stain. Let's go get some floor samples. So we got some floor samples, and then we have an offcut from our ceiling. So now we're going to Benjamin Moore to try and figure out what color we're painting our ceiling. For our ceiling, we're using pine tongue and groove that we picked up at Home Depot. This stuff is super light. It's about 3.5 inches wide and about 5/16 inches deep. The planks came in 8-foot long strips. Our van's about 12 feet long from the back of the chairs to the back of the cab. So we pre-cut all of our wood based on the measurements in our van. So it's all cut, and then we've labeled all of the parts based on where they're supposed to go, so it's easy to install again. We're using clear acrylic polyurethane. This tub is definitely overkill for what we need, but we figured we'd get too much than not enough. We're applying it with a synthetic bristle brush as per the instructions on the can. We're going to do one coat, we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll decide if we want to do a second coat. Let's go! Finnley loves to help, so first step is I'm just wiping off dog hairs and any other bits of dirt. Get the board all nice and clean. I have my bristle brush, and I don't put very much on it. And then I just start at one end and try and get full coverage and one full layer of polyurethane on it. I try and make it pretty thin and just work my way down the board. Making sure I'm getting in the tongue and groove. And that is pretty much it. Make sure you get the ends. When you're applying it, kind of looks like there are some streaks from the paintbrush, but when it dries really smoothly, so that's nice. And repeat. So if you're doing this, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Make sure you got some good tunes going. Couple things to watch out for when applying the polyurethane. Number one, watching out for the edges of the planks where we're going to be butting two together. I'm just making sure that we're not getting any beads of the polyurethane there when it dries. That way we can have a nice seamless connection. Second is the tongue and groove. At the end of every panel, I take the paintbrush and I just run it down the edge of the tongue and groove. That way I can get rid of any clumps that have gathered in there, because if I get any clumps of the polyurethane and we go to two panels together, I might not get that seamless connection. Third thing I'm doing is, we're doing all the sides of the panels, so I do the back side first, I let it dry, and then I'm doing the fronts and the sides. That way, if there's any overlaps in the polyurethane, it's on the back and we won't see it. That keeps the front looking nice and neat. So this one's had one coat of polyurethane on it. It looks really nice. I don't know if you can see it with the lights, but it's got a nice sheen to it, but it's not too reflective. I did a test piece on one of the offcuts and I did 2 coats of the polyurethane, and it's a lot more shiny, and it's too shiny for what we want. So I think we're just going to do 1 coat on all of them.
I know you had your heart broken one too many times, and now it's hard for you to open up. They have been cruel to you, saying things they don't mean.
Well, today's the day. We're getting ready to put our ceiling up. Before we do, we want to install some more cross nuts, so that way we have nice strong anchors for our upper cabinets and anything else we want to mount to the ceiling. If you're wondering how to install these, go check out our van framing video, and we go over how to do that. But yeah, excited to get the ceiling up.
While Jake's installing all the cross nuts, I'm organizing all of our ceiling panels. So Jake is just finishing up some final things we have to do before we get our ceiling up. A couple other things we did which we didn't film was we bought some spray foam just to put in all of the little gaps in our ceiling that we couldn't get to with the professional spray foam, so we did that. Jake installed some cross nuts for mounting our ceiling cabinets, so he's just painting all of the exposed metal. So for installing our ceiling, we want the panels to be centered on our fan. So our plan of attack is we're going to find the center point, and then we're going to mount those panels first, and then we'll work outwards towards either side of the van. That way it's all nice and level. We also plan on using a laser level so that we can make sure they're straight running the length of the van.
You showed me how to dance love, so tell me what you're thinking of.
It's the end of our first stage, putting our ceiling in. We got 3 pieces in, but most importantly, we did the legwork. It is now dead center in the van, so we have all the future pieces aligned based on these 3. All we have to do now is put them in and just keep working.
We're starting to lose sunlight, so we're gonna do it tomorrow, and we'll show you the hidden blind nails. We'll show you the blind nails technique tomorrow when we have sunlight. Good morning, day 2 of installing our ceiling. First plank up is the one that's going to have all of our puck lights in it. So we're spending a couple minutes just double checking our measurements because we want all of our lights to be equally spaced along that plank. So we're just taking our measurements. We also want this light here centered on our fan. So we're just taking a couple measurements to make sure these are all equally spaced and centered here.
So Hayley saved us from having a little hiccup down the road that we wouldn't have noticed for another couple weeks. So we were planning on installing our lights in the one next to the fan, but if you put the lights in and you put the fan lip up, the fan would cover the lights.
So it's no big deal. We're just gonna switch 2 of our panel rows and keep going, but something to keep in mind when you're installing your ceiling.
So we're just hanging out on the floor, looking at our ceiling. Well, keep at it tomorrow and we'll see you then.
This is our first finishing job, and I think we're nailing it.
While we're building a ceiling, we don't want the nails to show. We don't want to have lines all across the ceiling of nails. So we looked up a technique called blind nailing. And this is how you do it. Well, our ceiling is not entirely installed, but it's getting there.
We stopped where we got to the edge where the cross nuts are that we're going to mount our overhead cabinets to. So we'll deal with that later. But as far as we're concerned, this job is done.
Hope you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Hi, Finnley. What's up, buddy? What's up? Are you helping me? So while I have been polyurethaning, this is what Jacob has been doing. We have it. What are you talking about? Alright, Inspector, what do you think? How does this end look, buddy? You approve? Yeah? Does it look good?
Hey, buddy. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nailing with Jacob. Hayley, you're filming it. You just straight up filming.
Oh, I thought it was in time lapse.
It's 27 minutes of film.